Welcome to our Spooky Slumber Party.
Grab your favorite snack and get settled in for some spooky story time. Well, hello, Daku.
So, for our Spooky Slumber Party, I think
Ooh.
it's my turn, right?
That's right. I'm passing you the flashlight to put spookily under your face.
So, last time you talked about a theory, and that was like your little tidbit, so it's my turn. And okay, this is a topic that I didn't know where to put it. I really wanted to talk about it. It's more in the strange, spooky than paranormal or unexplained. So I want to talk about this like YouTube movie. It's a movie that was released on it's a movie that's on YouTube right now, and it's in the Japanese horror genre.
Ooh, Japanese horror is very solid many times.
So I didn't know where to fit this in for our podcast, so I figured, well, we can do it for our sleepover. Oh my god, how crazy would it be to be able to do this like sleepover recording when we're actually face to face someday?
In a real sleep, that'd be great.
Oh
I would love that. Actually,
god, that would be so fun. We need to figure it out. We need to figure it out and make it work. Like,
we're gonna figure it out.
I go over there and visit you, or we go over here, or
meet halfway. Something. We'll figure it out for sure because we have to have a little spooky sleepover.
Oh yeah, you definitely know that we're probably gonna record an episode when we see each other face to face.
Oh, absolutely.
It won't be live on Twitch probably, but we'll do it. That means I gotta get the layout set up on my laptop so I can have OBS in my laptop for when I travel and do that. Or if you come here, then I need to figure out a place for you to sit and the mic situation.
Don't you stress yourself about that right now.
Don't
you do it. Don't you do it.
I'm just excited with the idea of it. I know it's just it's not even come to fruition, but you know.
That's what I love about you.
It'd be nice to like. I'm just like, I always have ideas like this all the time. My brain doesn't stop. If you don't know, my brain literally doesn't stop.
Only we had bullet trains, things would be so much fucking easier.
Right? No, you're gonna make me walk down the yellow brick road, okay? Instead of instead of the bullet train straight to Oz, you're gonna make me walk down the yellow brick road. I get it.
Oh, gotta take a plane that keep crashing out of the sky.
So, I guess because I couldn't find a place for this in the podcast, I figured having a slumber party and talking about this during a slumber party is fun. For those of you guys that don't know, this is actually a mockumentary. So it's filmed in a documentary series. So it's really, really weird. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you like things like this, because this was actually recommended by one of the people that listen to our podcast. One of my old friends, I haven't seen him in forever, listens to our podcast like constantly. Ooh. And he sends me messages all the time saying, you guys have such a great dynamic, or you have a great voice for the podcast, stuff like that. He's always so sweet and he says that. And so he actually messaged me about this YouTube video.
I love that.
Because he's all like, I was watching this, and when I was watching it, it just made me think about you guys' podcasts. And he sent me the link, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Like, if I was trying to figure out what about it like would give him the thing, but then I remembered that we had the lovely Britters Bear join us, where she talked about that YouTube channel and that stuff. So it kind of feels that way. So this is a little short film. It's about an hour and maybe some change long on YouTube, and you can watch it for free on YouTube. And so it's a little mockumentary, and it is called, hold on, oh boy, where'd my notes go? Time out. Oh, that's what I did wrong.
Those notes love running away on us, man, I tell you what.
Yeah, it's because I made a separate notepad with the
or a little intro
for the segments. So I closed the folder with my notes and had the other folder open. So I had a little panic attack. I also took a hit of my pen, so my brain's like, oop. All right, so
you know what? That's the focus medication right there.
So it's one of those for those of you guys that don't know like a little bit about like the Japanese horror genre, they're usually more of a brain fuck than like outdated gory bullshit thing. It's a lot of psychological thing happened. Like it triggers that part of your brain, and that's why I really really like them. So we're gonna dip our toes in the Japanese horror genre, and we're gonna talk about this thing called Psycho, the Large Family.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's called Psycho, the Large Family. And so it is a mockumentary, and it starts off, and it's actually interestingly enough, because I was have like he sent me the link, I watched it, and then I watched other links relating to this, and then I watched where this came from. Like I went on a like spiral deep dive digging on this. Like I went all in afterwards. And so basically, Psycho the Large Family, which is the thing that we're discussing, was actually a movie that was made as a sequel to an episode from a Japanese horror like TV show, and it's
Yeah.
called Banned from Broadcast. And so the
Ooh.
concept of Banned from Broadcast is it's different documentaries or different videos that they wouldn't publish to the public because of some strange things that they found on the film. So basically, it seems like it's normal, but then there's either a supernatural or maybe a murderer or a murder that happened that is kind of revealed by these films, and because of that detail on it, they are locked in a vault not to be seen by the public because
So it's
of
giving Blair Witch with the
Mhm.
the mockumentary found footage
Yes.
secret.
So that's what the ban from broadcast is. And so Psycho, the Large Family, is a sequel to one of the episodes from the ban from broadcast. And there's like 7 to 11 short films in the ban from broadcast. So there's like 7 to 11 short films, and each one is different, but each one has a dark twist or spin to it that usually, like,
Right.
is it's the audience will probably not catch. And so the way I'm going to talk about this, because we've never done this before, is I'm actually going to give you guys a breakdown of basically what the film is. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of scene by scene by scene so you can get to know the characters. And then after that, I will then give you guys a breakdown of all the things that I caught my first time watching it and what other people caught. So
Love that.
basically, it's my own. So my reaction to this, like the very beginning of my notes, is going to be my first thoughts on it and what my brain was going off. So basically, it's great. So, but anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys about that. So these are vaulted documentaries that were banned from broadcast due to the dark and mysterious secrets that lie within the film. And so there was also a book series that was inspired by these, I believe, but I swear to God, I searched the internet, you guys, with as much as I can, and I couldn't find like who the author was, any of those books. Like I tried, you guys. I tried. Like when I said I went on a deep dive, I went on a deep dive. I even actually went as far as watching the other banned from broadcast short films
You
that
went
I
down the
could
J
get
horror
my
rabbit hole.
oh girl, I was whoosh, I was in. So so I did end up watching pretty much the entire collection that I could get my hands on YouTube of the band from broadcasts. And I actually watched this one first, and then I watched the prequel afterwards. And I will say that I enjoyed the sequel way more than the prequel, because the one thing I didn't really find in the prequel was they kind of explained way too much. Like it didn't give me the I wonder. It didn't give me the excitement of trying to figure it out or filling in my own blanks. They kind of like the prequel to this kind of laid it
Like
out
spoon
on
fed
the
it.
table, and I'm just like,
Got
ugh.
you.
You know, it was explained to me, and I'm all like, I wanted to do the
I wanted to learn
explain.
it myself.
Yeah. And so I didn't appreciate that because it wasn't as much of a psychological high as the sequel. And the sequel is
Right.
great. The sequel is great. So yeah. So Psycho, the large family, was actually originally translated from Psycho, the damned family, or Psycho, the cursed family. And Psycho is spelled Saiko. And Psycho, how do I explain this? Like Psycho is a play on words where psycho, as in the word psycho, like psychotic,
Right.
but psycho also means to be strong and what, wait, where's my translations for it? Because it means to be strong or to stay strong or something like that.
Okay.
The strong family, you know? And so so that's what this is. So I hope you guys enjoy this kind of thing, and if you do, we'll do more dips in the Japanese horror genre. Like
Love that.
Miso loves Japanese
Do.
horror. I mean, if you guys
I
haven't,
really do.
she covered the Kuchisaka Onna, she covered the yokai, she loves, like, that's like a genre
Oh,
that you love. Like, you love that
yeah, I
that
really do.
yeah, so I figured this would be a treat for you, and I do recommend, if you haven't watched this, you should watch it
Oh,
because
definitely. Especially because I love mockumentaries too, so it's
actually,
perfect.
for those of you guys listening, if you wanted to get yourself immersed in this, you should watch it before listening to my thoughts on it. So pause this, come back to us after you've watched it on YouTube. It's free on YouTube. It's called Psycho, the Large Family. So, you know, just yeah, it's on the Asian horror YouTube channel. So Asian horror YouTube channel, look for Psycho, the Large Family, and watch that, and then come back over here so you can go on this dive with me and my crazy thoughts in this film. And like I said, I love this. I loved it enough to make it into a topic for the podcasts, which I didn't know where this would go. This is literally just in the strange. It does slightly touch on the paranormal, but you know, just a little butthole touch, but that's about it. Um,
Just a little tickle.
this is more of, yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Um, so this was a prequel for the episode, for the thing that was released in 2004. So Psycho, the Large Family, the band from broadcasts. It's like episode 2 in the band from broadcast, and that was released in 2004. And then this film, which is the one that I'm talking about, was released in 2007. And this takes place um around 7 years after the original story is the timeline for this.
Okay.
But like I said, I didn't like the prequel as much. I suggest you guys watch it if you wanted to, but I
And it's
think
funny
that
because usually it's the opposite.
even though this is a sequel, I feel like the sequel is a standalone, strong piece, and it's pretty independent. Like, it does slightly touch on like the previous thing, like from 7 years ago, but you know, it's one of
Right.
those things. So it's just one of those. Just keep that in mind, you guys. Like, it's standalone. You don't have to watch the prequel, but if you really want to, go ahead. The prequel is also in the same channel as well, but the prequel doesn't have like English speaking, so you have to read. It's a read situation. Trust me.
Subtitles. Yep.
I read this, but it's also in English. The way the way they filmed it is like it's parts of it is in English and parts of it is going to be in Japanese.
Okay.
All right. So, for those of you guys coming back, did you guys like it? Did you have fun? All right, let's get down to business. So the film starts from the perspective of a camera person following a lady named Veronica Addison. Veronica is like this slightly older, proper, like, British woman, and she's literally basically, her role in this mockumentary is that she is a person that travels to different countries and deals with troubled families universally. So she goes to other people's houses to look at like the different conflicts within the different households from different cultures,
Interesting.
etc. So that's what she's doing. And so so what her job is she makes documentaries that focuses on family issues around the world. That's what her introduction is. That's who she is. And so she starts off discussing that the reason she is in Japan is because these are actual true facts, you guys, because Japan has a declining birth rate. And so, due to that being an issue that's been happening, she ends up visiting a very, very unique family called the Auras. And the Auras is a very large Japanese family where it's bigger than normal. This is I'm not talking like
Okay.
5 people. I think there's like 9 people in this family.
Okay.
So it's a big family. So
And are they all living in one spot? Like
they
one
all live in the
house?
same house. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
And so the thing with it is so she's walking over there and she's talking about the declining birth rate in Japan, and she arrives at the house, and the tone of this film starts off really like a normal documentary. Like you're watching something that's like a documentary. It seems like it's very the vibe is very documentary. We're going to learn about this family vibe. And it's a great vibe because she walks through the garden where there's like this vegetable garden that's got vegetables that's growing, and then she comes in during the time that the family is having breakfast. So she walks and gets let into the house, and in this household, you've got, the mother cooking food for the kids, and the kids are gathering at the table to eat dinner or to eat breakfast as a family. So, while they're eating, the film crew focuses on each family member. So it shows you the father, Sumio, who is 39, the mother, which is Chikasa, which is 45 years old, so she's a little older than him. The
Right.
second daughter, Mikan, who is 24. The second son, Ryuta, who is 17. Then there's the third daughter, Rie, who's 16. Fourth daughter is Remen, which is 13 years old. Their fourth son, Dan, is 12. Their fifth daughter is Sumomo, and their fifth son, Raichi, who is 5 years old. So that's the family. That's who you're seeing right
Okay.
now. So overall, you can see that there are 9 people in this family, which is not just a large family for Japan, but in general for the world. That's
Yeah,
a big
absolutely.
family. That's a lot
I
of
can't
kids.
imagine living with that
It's
many
so
people.
many
Well,
kids.
actually, my when my dad was married to, his 3rd wife, she has 4 daughters, and he had 4 kids, my 3 brothers and me, so there was when we were all together, because sometimes, my brothers would be at their mom's or whatever, but when we were all together, there was 8 kids, just kids, and then
Hmm.
so 10 people all together in the house.
Well, on my mother's side alone, my grandmother
It's
had
crazy.
12 grandbabies, and
Oh my goodness.
that's 12 grandbabies on my grandmother's side alone, and that's for her 4 kids. So that's her son, my aunt Beth, my auntie Evelyn, and then my mother, who was the youngest. So,
Right.
you know, she had 4 kids, and between the 4 kids, there's 12 grandkids right there. So there's 12 of us. And this is just the side that I know. I don't know anything about my
Right.
biological father's side or anything like that. So that's just on my mom's side alone. So yeah, there's 9 people in this household, and there's 12 of us that are like split amongst 4 families. So for me, I'm just like, that is so many kids. I can't even imagine. It's crazy. So anyways, you walk in, and the family just seems to be a normal family. Despite it being a large family, they have a very normal appearing family dynamic. So
Right.
they seem to be enjoying their food that was grown from their vegetables. The children are happy, and so everyone's just having a good time. And they made a joke of making her try oh my god, why can't I remember it? It's the one that it's the beans. Why is my brain shut down? Where they make her try soybeans. That I can't remember what
Hmm.
it's called, but it was trending all over TikTok for a while there, where Lizzo ate it, and it's like the soybeans that are like they're the
Oh,
yeah.
the gooey ones,
Yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
like
I
are you
can't.
talking the sticky bean
Natto,
things?
natto. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, natto. So they like it starts off with the kids like making her try natto with her not knowing what natto is, trying to mess with
right.
the white lady interviewer who's coming into their home. So they're like, "Yeah, eat, eat, eat!" Like they're trying to make her try natto, and so it's a very warm feeling introduction to this very large family. And so everyone's just having that. And then the father is asking the kids questions about what the kids want to do, if they're excited about anything or anything like that. And then the camera focuses on Rie, who is, I think, the third daughter or fourth daughter. Hold on. Rie
Okay.
is the third daughter. She's 16 years old. So it focuses on Rie, who just looks angry. And so he addresses Rie and asks her a question. And he tries to ask her a question, and she ignores him. So he tries again, but brings his voice to be louder because he thinks his son, or like he thinks that his daughter just can't hear him talking to him, and that's why she's not responding to him, you know?
Right.
And she does not respond. So the father gives her a warm smile and asks her a question again. And Rie then, just out of nowhere, picks up her bowl of miso soup and chucks it at Sumio, who is the father. She like literally just
Oh,
chucks it. So you're going in this vibe is very calm, very collected,
right, and
very,
then
and
chaos.
then out of nowhere, you see this
Right.
girl literally get so violent and so loud and
Especially her
so
father.
aggressive, you know? And so she throws the bowl of miso at him and starts to yell at him, and actually like goes up to him and smacks him and starts to punch him and slap him and kick him. And so the father is being attacked very,
Right.
very like aggressively by this daughter. He's doing everything he can to protect himself from her hits. He's not hitting her back. He's not doing anything. He's literally just like literally on the ground, curled up, while this girl is literally wailing
Going crazy.
fists at him. And the entire family just sits there quietly observing this. And it goes on a lot longer than I'm comfortable if I see something like that. And then the mother eventually gets up and tries to help her husband. And then, like, while she's trying to tell Rie to stop, she gets a couple more kicks in and then storms out of the room. And so, after that happens, the second son, Ryuta, stands up from the table, picks up his miso soup, walks at Sumio, dumps the soup on Sumio's face, and leaves
Oh,
with
wow.
his sister. So Veronica is startled at this display of pure disrespect and aggression to the father, and like just the shift is completely like she's definitely like what the fuck, you
Right.
know? And
Things have popped
so
off.
she goes and like eventually sits with the mother and father, and they have a small discussion on what just happened. She's just like, what the fuck? Give me an explanation, because whoa, you know what I mean? And so we then learn that Sumio was actually not the real father of these kids. So we then
Oh.
learned that Sumio came into the family. He's fairly new to the family. And so what happened is his wife, Chikasa, his wife Chikasa was actually married before, but her husband disappeared 7 years ago, leaving
Mhm.
her leaving her by herself to raise this very large family. And so
Right.
Sumio was actually her boss. And after
Oh.
she got left behind, he felt bad for her being a mother, having to raise this large family by herself because her husband just disappeared. You know, they don't know what happened. There was no note, there was nothing. He's just gone, you know? And
Right.
so he took it upon himself to help her. And so the kids were not thrilled with the arrangement, because he decided to step in and help her raise this family as the father of this family. So they made a union because they legally can't get married until 7 years of like your partner being gone. They have this law where it takes 7 years for you to
Interesting.
be able to claim someone is deceased, and then you can be divorced and remarried again. So he can't marry her right now because we don't know if the husband's going to come back or anything like that. So
Right.
right now he's taking the role of the father, but he is not the father of this giant family. And so a lot of the kids were just not really happy with this arrangement. And that's where the aggressive behavior comes from, because we learned that I believe only two of these kids are actually his kids with Shikasa. Like the
Right.
rest, like only two of
He's the
these.
stepdad to the rest of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of them. So the older kids don't like him because he's not the real dad in their eyes. You know how angsty kids
Right.
are.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so, so the kids met this union with great resistance, and they've been together for a while now, and they've had, some kids together. So we learned that, and we kind of understand where the issue is in this family. And I'm telling you, by the way, since starting this movie, my brain like was immediately like, there's something about Shikasa. There's just something I part of me was all like, is Rie like possessed by a demon? Like my theories were already going when I was watching this. I'm all like,
Right.
is Rie like dealing with a
It's just so
possession?
it was such a like sudden.
And then my alarm bells were going off with the mother, and I'm like, there's something, like my brain was just kind of suspicious of the mother. And I was a bit like, is the mother cursed? So my brain was all like, maybe she's from a cursed bloodline. Curses are believed to be very, very real. And
Right, or her
so,
husband maybe
and
was cursed or something.
yeah, so they have that discussion, and it cuts into another scene after that discussion happens. And the cameraman is filming the mother preparing a plate. And so she brings this plate over to this room and opens the door, leaves the food there, and then closes the door. And Veronica curiously catches this. And so Veronica asks the mother, wait, is someone in that room? And the mother replies that her eldest son, Goki, who is 23 years old, is in that room. And
Okay.
so we then learn a little about her eldest son, Guki. He's the firstborn. That he wanted to be a baseball player in high school, and he was a really, really big fan of baseball. And then on his second year in high school, he just dropped out of school and became a shut in. And so this is a very common practice. It's very real. It still happens in Japan. And so he is what the Japanese would call a hikikomori. So
Okay.
um, the hikikomori is a where did I put my notes on that? Sorry. I'm looking for the notes on that real quickly because I need to give you a summary of what it means. And it's actually, hold on. There we go. There we go. I found my notes for it. Okay, so hikikomori is a very real condition that is characterized by severe prolonged social withdrawal. And it's actually
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this.
yeah, so it's a condition that affects more than 500,000 youths in Japan, and 90% of those cases are male. So there are females that practice
Like
hikikomori.
extreme introverting.
Yeah, it's where they seclude themselves from
Yeah, like
everything.
fully.
All they do
Yeah.
is lock themselves in the room. And so we learned that Guki is that's his name. We learned that Guki would only leave his room to use the bathroom, and he's actually been doing this since the father left. So it's been 7 years that he has wow, Daku, wow, has chosen to seclude himself from society. So it's 7 years of this. So then so then we learn a little bit more about that, and how the mother is actually really, really sad. And the mother explains that she doesn't know. He just one day decided to seclude from society, and she doesn't know
Right.
why. Like, she has no idea why this is something that's happened to him. She has completely no idea. So then it goes into another scene where we see Sumio walking down the street on the phone and talking to someone on the phone. And we learned that there was another child who is actually the eldest daughter named Ringo, who is 22 years old. And Ringo ran away with her boyfriend after Sumio took on the role of father for this family. So she ran away from home
Interesting.
with him coming. So we learned that
She
of the kids that we saw, there are two additional kids, older, but one is secluding from society, and then the other one moved away,
ran off.
like ran off, just ran away from home.
So no one seems like they were happy with stepdad
Oh no,
becoming a part of this life.
no. And like this, you'll notice throughout this documentary that Sumio is actually a genuinely great person that just wants to be a father of this large family. He just wants to be accepted as a father.
Relationships are so complicated, especially with that kind of stuff, so I
Hmm.
can yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, so that's the introduction to, like, that's the first third of the movie that we're talking
Okay.
about, of the mockumentary. And so you're getting really into it. Like, the beginning, you're just like, okay, it's a documentary. And then you're just like, ooh, there's more. Like, what is going on in this
Right.
family? You get really invested. So we learned that Ringo stopped communicating with the family, and that Sumio has been searching for her for a while since she moved out. Sumio has not stopped searching for Ringo because, yes, he is not her father, but he has taken the role of a father. So therefore, he cares for her like a father. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so he has made it his goal to get this family together and to help, like, he has taken it upon himself that his goal in life is to be a part of this family and to be a father to these kids. Like, that is what
Right.
he wants to do. And so while Sumio is searching, he eventually found out from one of her friends that she was working in a huzokuten, which is roughly translated into either a brothel or
Mhm.
prostitution. It's what it is.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
but this particular shop that she works for, there are some shops that actually do practices. We learned that the women in this particular shop do not actually partake in what you would call genital union. What they do is they help them, like, it that no union, no penetration is happening. It's
Right, it was
everything.
other
It's
stuff, yeah.
everything,
Everything but yeah.
like,
Yeah.
everything but to that point. So it's still, it is. But this particular place does not practice genital
Restricted
union.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we see Sumio on the phone, who makes an appointment with a girl named Apple. And so they give him a time for his meeting with Apple, and he sets up like a hidden, like, the camera crew help him set up like a hidden camera in his backpack to basically go into this place and film what's going on. And so he appears at the place and gets sent to a room, and she, like, actually no, gets sent to the hallway, and this girl greets him, and the girl's face is blurred, and that girl is Apple. So that's Apple. And I'll
Okay.
tell you something about that in a second. And so he follows Apple into a room, and he sits on the bed, and he's like awkwardly, like, sitting, very weird, very strange, very uncomfortable. Like, even you watching this, you're very, very uncomfortable. Like, you can see that he's uncomfortable. You yourself is uncomfortable. And he's just sitting there.
Atmosphere is just tense, yeah.
And then she sits, like, on the bed, but pretty far away from him, and tries to talk to him, saying, how was your day? How is this? Basically acting like a girlfriend, you know, like a girlfriend asking how your day is, you know. That's like the role that she's playing, is asking him how his day was, this and that. And so he nods and says something, but then he is quiet. And there's like this like tension, like this like very, very awkward, tense energy in this room. You can just feel it. You're just like, oh God, I don't want to be here. This is so awkward. It's that energy. You get that energy from this.
Right.
And so he quietly whispers, "You are Ringo." And she giggles and she's like, she doesn't know who that is. She doesn't know what he means, and treats it like he's trying to do a weird scenario from some fantasy. And he again asks, he goes, "No, you are Ringo." And so she gets really, really quiet, and you can start seeing her body language changes. Like you can see her go into herself. Like you can feel her body change. Like you can feel it. Like you can just feel like the shame, kind of like you just feel her go into
Right.
herself, that kind of energy. And so she starts to cry and ask him, "Why would you come here? Why did you come here?" And he tells her, "Please come with me. Let's leave this place." And she cries and gets angry with him and says that she can't come home. She's too ashamed to come home, and that they wouldn't let her go anyways if she wanted. And we learned that the boyfriend she ran away with had some debt that he couldn't pay back.
Oh, yep.
And so he pretty much gave her to them to work off his debt.
Right.
So she basically is there to work off her ex-boyfriend's debt, who has left her, and
What a piece of
basically
shit.
left her as, here you go. I can't pay you, but
Collateral, yeah.
here's collateral, kind of thing. Um so she starts crying and talks about this, and then she gets like panicky. Like she gets really panicky and freaks out. And she quickly gets up, grabs the phone, and cries on the phone and calls for security. And so she calls security. Security comes in there and roughhouses Sumio, like grabs him by his shirt,
Right.
saying, "We don't do that here, you sick pervert, you're disgusting," like saying terrible things and saying that, like, basically they're handling business, you know, they're handling business for people that are not behaving, kind of thing. And so he gets roughly like picked up and then thrown out of this place, and you see him on the ground with his backpack. And he's like, you know, and he's just like absolutely just defeated at this point, you know.
Right.
And so he comes home that night and finally tells his wife that he did find Ringo, and explained where Ringo was and what Ringo was doing to the wife.
Oh,
So
man.
there's this really awkward conversation where he talks about,
Yeah, I bet.
this is where Ringo is right now, and this is what's happening. So the documentary then cuts for that day, and then a few days later we see that there's like chaos happening in the household and all that stuff. And when the film crew around's there, we learned that the second son Ryut, that no, before this whole thing happened, like when they were having a discussion, one of the kids fell off of the bike, one of the little ones, the little tiny ones, the really, really tiny ones. One of them crashed their bike and actually managed to like get a huge cut on their forehead from falling off their bike. And then while this was happening, we learned that the second son, Ryuta, who is always on the phone, was on the second story talking on the phone, and he fell off the balcony and cracked his head
Oh,
on the
crap.
ground. And so you see blood on the ground
Right.
where he fell. And so they call for the ambulance, and the ambulance is on its way. And then there's like this news saying that the ambulance couldn't make it because there's a bunch of traffic that's making the ambulance not get there. So what they do is like they asked them if they could just bring Ryuta, if they can bring Ryuta to the street so they can just literally pick him up and take him to the hospital, because they couldn't
Right.
make their way through the traffic and all that stuff. And so Sumio, the father, immediately understands the assignment, goes to his son Ryuta, puts him over his shoulder like a backpack while this kid's bleeding all over him. And you see Sumio running through this neighborhood and into the street to try and bring Ryuta to the street so that the ambulance can pick him up and take him to the hospital. And so we learned when we learned a few minutes, like after a little bit, that they get to the hospital and the film crew sees that the son is in a coma. And um and they talk about how, he's lost a lot of blood, he's currently asleep, they can't wake him, etc., but he's in the hospital. So he's in the hospital, he's doing okay, but he's not waking up or talking or anything like that. And you can see his head's wrapped up in all that stuff, right? And
Right.
so with this news, um Sumio again seeks out Ringo. So he waits outside Ringo's work. And when Ringo comes out to walk home from work, he goes and chases after Ringo and asks her to come home. And she refuses to she refuses to talk to him and walked away from him. He then pleads her and tells her, please come home. And then he tells her the news of what happened to Ryuta, her brother. The moment she found out that Ryuta, her little brother, was injured, her body language changes. And she actually takes a seat and sits down and listens to him talking about, about what happened to
Right.
him. And she is like, you can tell that she loves her siblings. You can tell that she,
Right.
like, even though she's far, far away from them, you can tell that she loves her siblings. And this is big news to her.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, he talks about it, and it cuts off with them having that discussion. And then a few days later, finally wakes up in the hospital and he finally gets to come home. And then after a few days of him being home with his siblings, he's finally awoken, and the kids are happy that he's home. And then a few days later, we see Sumio approaching the door, and guess who's behind him? Okay, so a few days later, after after Ayuta comes home, we see that Ringo is following her father, a bit nervous to come home, because she doesn't know, how everyone's gonna take it and all that stuff. And so he walks her to the door, and you see the wife open the door and steps out, greets her daughter, and says, "Welcome home." She helps her daughter with the bags, and in Japan they don't like really show physical, like they don't
Like
hug. It's
public affection.
they don't, that's not something that is very common. Like
Right.
here, moms would like
Hugging and
probably
yeah.
like not let go of their kid. Them, it's very, very much not that way. And so she helps her with her bags, and the eldest daughter is finally back home, and Sumio is in happy spirits because he's got one of, like, Ringo coming back home, and Ryuta is in good spirits. And hold on one second. All right. So Ryuta is in good spirits to see his sister, and you'll see that the daughter, Ringo, finally becomes like a part of the family and is basically helping the mom with everything. She's helping the mom make food. She's the one that now brings food to Guki, and she's the one that's taking care of the kids, and she's definitely bringing back unity into the family. Like, she was a missing piece that of this broken family, and she is kind of like getting it back together. And you get that vibe because the kids are happy to have her, and she really is immersed in helping her mom basically, fill in the role of mom for all these kids
Right.
basically. And so while everybody is eating and in good spirits because Ringo's back, Rie, of course, is not happy. So then Sumio starts talking about how he is, how he's so happy that the daughter is back. And all that stuff. And they're just like having family time. And Rie gets mad at him again. Like she's kind of like grumpy about like the whole thing, but she keeps it contained. And so Sumio decided to bring up at the dinner table, hey, maybe we should leave this house. Let's go find somewhere else to live and leave this
Right.
house. And so like he asked how many of the kids wanted to move away, and a few of the kids raised their hands saying that they'd love to leave the house. But then it focuses on the mother, and the mother is not really happy with this idea. And she basically makes a motion that she disagrees with this, and the conversation about moving cuts right there. Like she's like, no, we're not moving. And everybody's like, okay, we're not moving. So they keep eating, and then we have Rie all of a sudden sweep all the items from the table and starts to attack her father yet again.
Oh
So
wow.
Ringo immediately gets in between her little sister and the father and pulls her away to stop attacking the father. So Rie yells and storms off, but the attack stops on the father. So not long after this, after they've had family dinner, there's a recording of like Veronica talking to the little kids about their drawings, because they're drawing these drawings, right? And
Right.
so the kids mention that they don't like this house, this and that. And then they have like one of them was drawing like a cat, but it was like a very, like if you look at it, it's a very unnerving cat drawn with a red crayon. So it's a cat, but it's very dark and gory looking. There's something very off
Wrong
kill.
with it.
There's some
Yeah.
like it's just like it looked like it looked like a cat, but it looked like it was a cat that was bleeding because of the red crayon effect that it had on the drawing. It just seemed like it was like a bloody cat, like a gross
Oh
bloody.
wow.
It was a very dark
We should have
drawing.
moved.
Mhm. And so the lady talks about it, and this is where the movie focuses a little bit on the paranormal part of it all. And we learned that there was this picture or this photograph that they found. And in this photograph, you see like these two demon heads and ghosts in it. And it's like got an archway that, do you know what I'm talking about? The Japanese archways, the ones where,
Yes, absolutely.
you know
Like
what I
the
mean?
like the
Like a shrine.
yes, I was about to literally say shrine. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so there's an archway, and next to that archway is those really creepy faces and stuff like that. And they talk about how this photograph appeared in the mailbox over 7 years ago. And like it just like they threw it away and it managed to come back, and they burned it and it managed to come back. So this picture came into their family through a mailbox, and now they can't get rid of this picture. And so
Interesting.
it touches a little bit
First
on
picture.
that. And while the kids are doodling, talking about how this house is dark and scary and they don't like it, they talk about how they used to have a pet cat, and that cat was, the cat died and they buried that cat in the backyard. And so it's a very dark, weird segment. And I'm just like, what? Like, I get that they're like trying to get like the whimsy of children, but at the same time, it's very dark and
Right.
strange and uncomfortable. Like there's something
It's not
so not
right.
right, you know? And so after that, they talk about how, there's, okay, after that, there's a weird, really weird scene where the camera is on the floor facing a specific way, and you're hearing sounds in the background that sounds like, Sumio and Shikasa were having a conversation while getting busy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's literally a camera that focuses on the floor at nothing, while on the side of the camera you can hear them having this discussion while getting busy.
Oh my. Oh.
And so um uh we learned that, there was actually a kid that died, like another one of their kids died about like 9 years ago, or no, it was not long after the father left, but like they had a son, and that son drowned in the river and died. And so it then
Oh.
focuses on a shrine that they have in the house that you see in the background, but you like, for people that know, they know that that's a shrine of someone dead. But for people that don't know the culture, they wouldn't have even thought about that. But in the background, before all of this, you'll see that there's a little shrine for a little boy, and that's who the little boy is. He drowned. He is, I
Oh, I see.
believe, yeah, he is, I believe, I think he's the third son, I believe. Yeah, because Guki is the first son. Ryuta is
So
it
they've
might be
already
the
lost
second
one
son.
child.
Yeah, that's the one that they lost. Okay,
Yeah.
so second daughter Mika and son Ryuta is the second son. Okay, so it's the third son that died. The third son. And so yeah, the third son died, and I'm trying to see if I have it in my notes what his name is, but he died um by drowning in the river, about, not long before the father left the house, or left, like, just disappeared. Not long before the
Right.
father disappeared, their son had an
Interesting.
accident, which
Suspicious.
would kind of give you an idea of, like, how could someone possibly just leave? Something
After
must
that,
have
yeah.
happened that was so traumatizing that would cause that. And we kind of learned that maybe the father did leave because the loss of one of their kids
Was too
was
much,
something that
maybe.
they as a couple could not recover from. And he just
Right.
left because of it?
Yeah, and that does happen, so
Yeah, and so they talk about that and the dark light, and this is why he wants to leave the house, because he feels like this house is the reason why all these unfortunate things have happened to the family, right? And
right.
so he talks about, the daughter falling from the bike, Ringo being sold to pay off somebody's debt, Guki secluding himself, Rie being a delinquent because she was constantly in trouble at school, Ryuta falling off the balcony. And so that's how that conversation ends. And it's just footage of them looking at the floor while they're having this conversation. And in this conversation, they also talk about he mentioned something about, was that thing from 7 years ago settled, but it doesn't really clarify on that, right? So
Right.
after this scene, there is footage of Chikasa in the garden watching the kids, and like, well, she's actually not okay. It's a video of Chikasa in the garden, and she is yelling. Like, it's a video footage of her yelling at the smallest kids because the youngest daughter, was playing in the vegetable garden and putting her hands all over the vegetables, and the mother gets really mad because, like, she's like, I keep on telling you not to play by the gardens, this and that. That is our food. You're not supposed to play with our food, blah, blah, blah. You,
Right.
you shouldn't bother the garden. So the mom is like angry,
Freaking out,
screaming
yeah.
at this kid because this kid decided to, copy mom while mom's gardening. It's like kids imitate their parents. And
Right.
so if the kid
Right.
sees the mom in the garden, the kid's going to be like, mommy does this, I'll do this too. So
Right.
she tells the kids that they're not supposed to touch the garden because that is
Yeah,
their
don't mess with the
food, and you're
garden.
not supposed to touch our food, right? And so after she yells, she notices that the camera is filming this, and she, like, her energy changes from being like yelling mom to like super sweet, and
Right.
waves at the camera and goes back to watering the garden. And it's just like this thing. And while she's doing this, you can hear the kids in the background crying and crying. And this really dark, ominous cover of I think it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars is playing, and
Ooh,
it's a very
weird, yeah.
gross, ominous cover of, like, if you watch it, you'll understand what I mean, where it's a
Right.
very strange Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars cover. It's just like this creepy, weird girl voice
So
singing
now
Twinkle Little Stars while we
we
see the
saw the
kids
daughter.
crying.
So we see the daughter already freaking out multiple times. Now we're seeing the mom, well, the son too, him jumping, and then now the mom
Yes.
snapping and acting like nothing even happened.
Okay, and so this is when they discuss the second born son who drowned in the river about 8 years ago, right before the father disappeared, and that they had a shrine dedicated to him. And it's also when they talk about the weird paranormal things with the faces of the demon or ghosts of some sorts photograph. And how they actually tried to, because that picture wouldn't go away, they actually tried to have like a person come to the house and try and exorcise the demon in their household. So they talk about how they did that and they burned the photograph and the photograph came back. And so it's just a very creepy, creepy vibe. Okay. So after a few days, the camera crew comes back to record the family's progress, and we walk in on the family eating dinner. And Ryuta is more respectful and supportive of the new father because he's thankful that the father saved his life when he fell off the balcony and ran to the hospital. Like, he wouldn't be here without Sumio
Right.
carrying him. So Ryuta is more like, you could see the energy from Ryuta is more positive towards the father versus in the beginning where he dumps miso soup on his face, right? And
Right.
so you can tell that he respects his father way more. Like like him and the father's relationship dynamic has completely changed ever since that. And so because it's been 7 years, while they're having dinner, the couple, Sumio and Shikasa, finally announces to the family that they are officially married since it's finally past the wait period of of Chikasa's previous husband's disappearance. So, they're finally able to legally marry each other. And so everyone is actually excited about this. Ringo is very, very excited. And the only person that is like that is not happy is, of course, Rie.
I was gonna
And
say
she
that, yes.
doesn't hide her displeasure with what's going on. And so with this announcement, she again attacks the father a
Oh,
lot more
geez.
aggressively, a lot more viciously, and it is brutal. And so she's yelling at him and saying that you'll never be my father, this and that. And so Ringo tries to stop this attack like she did last time, and Rie hits her sister and shoves Ringo, and Ringo falls backwards and hard on the ground. And with Ringo falling, you notice Sumio change. He went from, being submissive and accepting these hits to out of nowhere, he slaps Rie across the face. Like, just slaps her across
Seems
the
like she
face.
needed a good slapping, so.
And he finally starts yelling at Rie, saying, you can hit me all you want. You can yell at me all you want. You can disrespect me, but you will not hurt your siblings. And
Good for
he
him.
starts yelling at her, saying, you can hit me, but you cannot hit your sister ever. I will not accept that. So you finally see him take on a role of aggressor versus being, his
Right.
his
Yeah,
his
submissive.
energy changes to
Mhm.
protective and very, very much like dominant father energy. Like, you get that
Right.
energy from him. And so after he yells at her, Rie, a bit shocked at being yelled at and slapped, she touches her face and she runs away. And after the father checks on Ringo, he goes and like starts to run after Rie, who ran outside because it's nighttime and she just ran away from home. And so him and his wife go outside to try and bring Rie back in the house, and she's gone. So he goes and makes sure that the kids are taken care of while him and his wife go and search for Rie, who ran away from home after this. So after like what seems like 3 hours of him searching, he's got food covering him. He's wet from being soup tossed. Like he's walking around in the cold with wet clothes, dirty clothes, trying to find Rie. And,
Right.
him and his wife split ways to see if they can find her in separate ways. So he goes and like searches for her. And after what seems like 3 hours, he finally sees Rie standing by herself on the bridge next to a light. And you can just see that she's standing there thinking. He approaches her and they have a conversation. And so this is filmed way back, like it's really far away. It's kind of like the scene where Pam has a conversation with Michael right before Michael gets on the airplane to fly away. It's that kind of distance, like it's filmed very
Right.
far away. And you can see her having a conversation, and it's their first time having a heart-to-heart conversation. And you can see that she calls him an idiot, and she
Ooh.
mentioned that she was shocked that she finally managed to cause her idiot father to react to her behavior. And she
Wow.
apologizes after having this heart to heart. But, and she
It's a
just
little
talks about
backhand.
how, she just apologizes. And you can see that this conversation is a turning point for the two of them. And so she calls him a stupid father, and he's really crazy for taking on this role. And he's a foolish man for wanting to accept this family as his own, etc. So they just have like a heart to heart conversation. So then the camera leaves them to their privacy and they go home together, etc., right? The next time we see the family, we see them together, sitting around the dinner table. The energy is completely different. The energy is so positive in this household that you felt all this dread in. The energy is completely shifted. Like there is finally um harmony almost, like it's starting to
Right.
feel like everything is finally falling into place. And so they announced that they're deciding to go on a camping trip. And even Gookie, who has secluded himself from the world, you can see him sitting in the back with the rest of the family eating dinner with them on the table. So finally his family coming together has made Gookie finally come back and rejoin life and rejoin family. And so they're planning a camping trip together. And on this, like, and they talk about how, they're going to go camping and all that stuff. So they get ready for this trip. And so we go on the camping trip with the family. And you get a scene where the father is helping the family put up the tents. And you can see that the father's teaching Ryuta how to catch fish. And the family has finally seemed to accept Sumio as the father of their household. And so it goes on a montage of different interviews asking the kids what they thought of their new father. So one kid said that he first thought that the father was weird, but he likes him now. And then another one said, yeah, he was a clumsy man, but he was always very kind. And then she asked the fourth son, the one that he saved, like if he likes his current father or the previous one. And the boy answered that he liked the new father better. And so another one said that and then he asked Rie, do you like your new father? And she said that she likes him very much. That's the one that he had a heart to heart with.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the last one they interview is Ringo. And he asked Ringo, do you like this father or the old father better? And do you like your new father? Is what they ask her. And she sweetly and meekly smiles at the camera and says she likes her new father very much. And then the interviewer asks her again, did she prefer her new father? And she shyly answers that she prefers the new father. It then shows a slideshow or of the it shows um more of the trip, and then they interview the mother, and the mother is happy that all her children are here today, and they all seem to be enjoying their time with their new father. And then they finally interview Sumio and ask him how he felt being called father by the children, because while he was fishing, the kids were calling him father. And he
Right.
mentioned that he is so happy that he never gave up on this large family. And he is happy to finally be the father of this large family. And he mentions how he loves this large family and will do his best for his family. The crew then says goodbye and, says that they're going to leave the family to their trip. And a slideshow pops up with different texts say, like, it's a white screen that shows up that had text saying that after the crew left the camping trip, an accident happened and the mother fell off from a cliff and is now in a
Oh
coma.
shit.
So the camera crew comes back and it shows the camera crew visiting the home, and the youngest kids are all at home being taken care of the older sister. And they talk about the person missing in the household is the mother, and they talk about what happened to the mother. And so the crew goes to the hospital where they see her while she's in a coma with her head wrapped and everything else with a mask on, with an oxygen mask. And you could see that the second daughter and the eldest kids were all there visiting the mom. And they said that she's been in a coma for 10 days. And the doctor said that it's amazing that she actually managed to survive the fall even after hitting her head so badly during this fall.
Oh wow. They must say they're getting lucky with the falls, I guess, in the sense, well, not because they're falling, but because
Yeah.
they're surviving them.
So then after that, the camera crew is back in the household, and they're there with the rest of the family except for the eldest kids that's in the hospital with the mother. And Veronica asks, and she walks in, and Ringo, actually, sorry, no, the family is there except for the mom. So the entire family is there except for the mom. And when the camera crew comes in, they see the eldest daughter, Ringo, is the one preparing the food for the kids now. And they see her sprinkling something in the food, and they ask her what that was. And she said that it's a new spice that she really likes, and it's called seaweed salt. And so she finds it tasty, and the lady asks if she can try it, and Ringo happily puts the sprinkles of the seaweed salt in the palm of the lady. And the lady tastes it, and she is definitely not a fan of the seaweed salt. Like, she's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, it's salty. And so the interviewer says her goodbye and tells Ringo that she's doing a good job taking care of the family while the mom is away. And so it goes again with like her saying goodbye, and it goes on this creepy like ending of that cover of Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars, and it shows a slideshow of the trip. This is where we're gonna get into it, and
Oh boy.
so you'll see like a slideshow of pictures, but in between different pictures, you'll see a video clip of each of the kids saying Psycho with their hand raising, like, staying strong, Psycho. And so that's what,
Right.
like, so all like there's like a montage of different pictures and the different kids saying Psycho in their own way. And it shows a picture of the entire family together at the camping trip. And it stays on that image for a while. And then the last video pops up of Gookie, the eldest son. And it's the
Right.
first time you hear him speak. And he says Psycho. And he has this deep voice. And he looks at this camera with these dark eyes. And then he points his baseball bat at the camera. And then and casually puts the bat on his shoulder, and it fades to black, and that's how they end the movie. Okay.
And he's the one that fell off or jumped off.
No, Gookie is the one that was Hikamori. He's the one that secluded
Right.
himself.
Okay, yeah.
Ryuta
Yeah.
is the one that fell off. Okay, so I'm going to give you a breakdown of the different scenes, but I'm going to give you a summary of my thoughts. So that's what the movie is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you watch it, I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm sorry.
No, I feel like it's pretty concise.
I feel like I needed to give you guys a summary of what I was going through so I can give you guys my thoughts.
No, I feel like
this,
context is important. Yeah.
So I didn't know how to do it without giving you guys a breakdown of what the film is about, so I can talk about the different weird things that you would catch in this movie. So this is why I love Japanese horror. It's a different kind of horror. It's more subtle, and it's more mental. And I love
a lot of
things like that.
psychological stuff.
And the way it starts, where it's just like a normal family, and it just starts like I mentioned how it starts off as like this like very normal documentary, but then it starts to like change and it starts to get dark. And you can't quite see why, but like your energy while watching this switches. And for me, since the beginning, I told you that the mother just felt completely off. And I was even more
Right.
sold when she was yelling at the kids and then she just smiled at the camera. Part of me is like, oh, this bitch has some demons or some shit. Cause, woo, I got a huge whiff of like dark energy from her, like from the beginning of the film. And interestingly enough, oh, don't read the comments. Fuck, I forgot to tell everybody. If you watch this, don't read the comments first before like you finish it because I don't want you guys to get your perspective changed by what is in the
Yeah, I
comments. But the
remember you
comments
literally telling me
section,
that
yeah, the
if
comment
I did a
section for
watch it, not to read
this,
the comments.
yeah, the comment section is interesting. And so the mother felt completely off for me. And so I find it very interesting that now that I've looked at the comment that I wasn't the only one that got that vibe. But then I also know that the person that sent me this video didn't get a weird vibe from her. So I told him from the beginning, I'm like, there's something off about the mom. And he didn't see that coming. So some people didn't, but for me, my vibes were like, ooh, alert, 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 something's
Right.
not right. And
Immediately
so
something was off.
a couple things. When they actually first introduce you to Gookie, you realize that he practiced calligraphy. Like he said, he expressed an interest in calligraphy and actually practiced calligraphy. And so you can see some of his calligraphy hanging all over this room and the doorway. And so I don't know kanji. I don't know like I don't understand. And so I actually looked up like other people's breakdowns of what the calligraphy said. And one of the calligraphy in that room, I'm not sure if this is accurately translated, but a few people have mentioned it, is it says that it's like a little poem. It says, "One hit with the bat, my father died." So that's one. And then
Oh.
another one says, "Mother is a psycho." And then another one says, "Kill my brother." And then another
Oh.
one says, "I have no choice but to kill." But like, I don't want to take those into context because I have my own theories of what happened. But people truly believe that Gookie is like the bad guy. But but that's what some
Yeah.
people say. Some of the calligraphy says. Um, uh, but then the creepy drawings from the kids, I explained to you how weird it was that like I did not know that red crayon could be so creepy in a child's
Right.
hands until I saw these pictures. So if you watch it, please. But one thing I didn't catch that someone else caught while rewatching this, and I rewatched it and caught these, is every single time a bad incident happened, you would notice that the mother is somewhere in the background.
Interesting.
So you would notice that, and when the kids are being interviewed, you'd notice from a reflection in the mirror that the mother was close and listening to the interviewers talking to the kids. So you'll see parts. And the other thing that really creeped me out is somebody actually had to pause it because it goes by so fast. After Ryuta falls from the second story, on the window upstairs, you can see Chikasa there upstairs.
Interesting. So the mom's just lurking, man.
No, she might have pushed him.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
So it's
so
not even just her presence, she literally might be murdering
yeah. And so every
her.
single
Yeah,
like and
too.
so now
Interesting.
that you know this, every time you watch it, look in the background for whenever they're interviewing and you'll see that she is always watching the kids and listening to what the kids are saying to the interviewers. And then the other thing is um in the slideshow tells a story at the very end of the film. And I don't know if anyone's caught these. So, in the first picture of the slideshow is a picture of the three middle daughters, Mikan, Rie, and Remen, and Dan, the fourth son. And then the second picture shows the lovely Ringo playing bubbles with the youngest boy and girl, Sumomo and Raichi. And in the third picture shows the mom sitting on the ground surrounded by Ringo, Rie, Mikan, Sumomo, and Raichi, and the fourth son, Dan, is standing way back in the background with them, like he's talking to the father while they're going fishing. But even further back behind them, you see Gookie looking at the mom with a bat. And it looks like he's picking up the bat to walk and go for a hike somewhere. And then you see the video of Dan saying Saiko. And then in the background of Dan saying Saiko, you see a very, very small blurry speck in the background that looks like a blurred picture of Gookie walking, because it shows like a white shirt and gray bottoms, but it's like a little tiny speck, so you can't really tell who it is, but you can see that he's in the background walking while Dan is saying Saiko. And then after Dan, the fourth picture shows Ryuta and Sumio fishing together. Then after that, the fifth picture is a picture of Ringo, Raichi throwing rocks at the water, and Mikan and Ramon are looking in a different direction, smiling and laughing. In the sixth picture, it's the same group, just from a different angle. Then the seventh picture is Mikan, Chikasa, and Rie smiling and making peace signs at the camera. But in the very far, far back is a white speck that looks like a blurry Gookie who is going off on his hike. And then the eighth picture is Dan and Raichi poking their cheeks. The ninth picture is of Ringo taking care of Raichi while Rie, Chikasa, and Remen laugh together. The 10th picture is of Raichi, who is picking up rocks, and Chikasa's slouch watching Raichi and Remen, and Ryuta is just tinkering with the backpack, and in the far back is Dan walking towards the river. And then in the 11th picture is of them in the bus. In the front, the front was the mom, Raichi on her lap. Next is her brother, is Dan the brother. Then you see Ringo, Sumomo, Ryuta. But behind all of them, you see Gookie. And Gookie is looking at the camera, no smile, and he's just leaning on his bat, just looking at the camera. And in the 12th picture is Ryuta making a peace sign, Rie looking at Ryuta and smiling, and Gookie sitting with a grim look on his face, holding his bat. And then the 13th picture is Ringo and Sumomo making a peace sign at the camera. Then the 14th picture is Mikan and Remen making a peace sign at the camera. 5th picture shows Mikan, Shikasa, Rie, Remen, Raichu. I'm just like naming the names because like certain characters are missing in these pictures in each segment. And it's like there's like a series or story being told. Dan is playing with rocks, and Gookie is hanging with him in the back, staring at the camera as he's relaxing with his bat. And in the 16th picture is Gookie with his baseball bat pointed at the camera and him looking directly at the camera. And then the 7th picture is of Mother standing and looking directly at the camera. And her face is unreadable, like she's angry at someone on the campsite while they're putting up the tents. And the last picture is of everyone leaning into each other, smiling and posing for the camera. And in the very back is Gookie looking at the camera with his bat, again, resting in his hand. And it shows the video of him saying Saiko, and it turns black. So for me, this is what I think happened. I think that the mother is not okay. There's something not right with her. And she killed her first husband. And the kids are aware of what she did. And the reason why the kids were closed off to him at first is because they didn't want him to be in danger. And then it also explains why Rie was so aggressive and mean to her father, because I think she figured out that he was a genuinely good guy and wanted to scare him away from the family to protect him from the mother.
Yeah.
And so I believe that the mother convinced Gookie to get rid of the father, because in the prequel, you'll realize that the father that was the father of these kids before was not a good guy, and you'll learn that he actually like abused Ringo, like beat Ringo and all that stuff. And so the prequel kind of gives you a dark side to him. So, like, my summary prior to even knowing the story beforehand was the mother was poisoning him, and she was doing it for insurance. Is like she was marrying him so she can get insurance and then would kill him after he died. And the kids are aware of what she's doing, and the kids are trying to stop it from happening. And once Rie realizes that he's a genuinely good guy, she got with her siblings and like, we got to get rid of mom. We got to. She's going to kill him, and he doesn't deserve this, and he's a great father. So I feel like they all came into a plot of getting rid of the mother so that they can protect their new father. But that's
Interesting.
that's what it is. So I really do enjoy these kind of things, and I like filling in the blanks, and I love the different theories that came by it, and I thought it was just a really interesting watch, and I hope that other people find this interesting. This is why I couldn't
I
figure
thought,
out
yeah.
this is why I couldn't figure out if it belonged in the podcast or not, because
No, I think that was great.
it's so it's literally me
I mean,
talking
again, it's
about
like
a
a
movie. But
well, I mean, it's like a creepy pasta or an SCP, that kind of
mhm.
stuff. Like I said, I mean, it's like I think it's really cool. I like that, especially in one that you won't maybe necessarily see or as easily because it is like a random Japanese mockumentary, right? So
But I think people would
sometimes,
enjoy it. Like if people
no, absolutely,
that
but
watch
like you're
our
bringing it to them
podcasts,
that wouldn't normally be able like
like,
come across that naturally.
so for me, part of me is like, hey, I can introduce you to a whole genre or to something else that I
Exactly.
think you might be interested if you're interested in something like that. So for me, I've wanted to talk about this, but I couldn't find a place in anywhere to bring it up. And I'm all like, well, it could just be bonus content for the podcast because it's not a topic, but it's a very fun concept of this thing. And like I said, I love the Band from Broadcast series. I watched all of them, and I think you guys should give it a try. And Miso, now that you've listened to this, I hope you watch it. Like I said, it's not that long of a
I
video,
definitely think I'm going
but
to. I
if you do, I really want to hear your thoughts, and I want to like know what you come up with for your own theories of
Okay.
what happened. Because for me, I truly believe the mother is the bad guy, and I truly
It certainly
believe
seems that way.
that the mother has something wrong with her. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was weird, but like I said, it's a little story time, and I really do hope you guys give it a try if you're interested at all. Give it a little dive. And because there is the presence of Veronica there, she does have a translator with her. So while she's having conversations with them, they'll respond in Japanese, but the translator will translate it in English. So it's watchable for
Interesting.
people that don't want to read because the
Being
interviewer
translated.
basically gets, we're getting information in our own language that we can understand a little better. So, it's a fun watch. It's an hour and some change. And what did you think?
I thought that it was like I think that it's not only one, I loved it. Two,
Yes.
I think that I think the mom may have, like you said, like maybe cursed or possessed, and either way, I think she definitely had something to do with the husband's death, but I think she actually may have had her oldest son, do something to the husband, and that's why maybe she pushed him off the ledge to keep the secret and why he was being so
No, no, no.
weird.
The one that went and secluded himself is the one that did it. The one that fell off the ledge was just one of the
Oh,
kids.
that's
He
right. I
had
keep
nothing to
mixing
do
them
that.
up. I
Yeah,
keep
it's okay.
mixing them up.
It's a lot of
He just
names.
wants to
It's a
he's just
huge
murdering.
family. It's a huge
I
family.
do
Like
still think that she had him
I
do
think
something
I
because he
think
was being nefarious.
I think she is the reason why he's secluded
Yeah.
because I think that she convinced him to do it because
Mhm.
he would do anything to protect his siblings. And so she's just like, your father hits your sister. We have to get rid of him. And he probably agreed to protect his siblings,
Right.
but didn't feel good about it that he secluded himself from society because of her. Because
That's
I truly
that's
believe that,
exactly what I was thinking.
yeah, I truly believe that the reason why he secluded himself is because it was too much of a mental weight eating at him And if he was in society, he might have talked about it. And that's probably why he secluded himself, because I don't think he wanted to do it.
No, I think he felt like you said, he was protecting his sister, and his mom like persuaded him.
Yeah. But I hope you watch it, and if you do, please let me know so we can have
I'm
a small
certain I
discussion
will.
about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed our spooky little slumber party.
Woo!
And whenever you guys listen to this, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you like this kind of stuff, we might be able to cover more stuff like this. But give us a little feedback to let us know if this is something you would enjoy. Not as like a main segment, but as bonus content if this was enjoyable for you to watch.
Spooky little sleepovers.
Spooky little sleepovers that will eventually happen in real life.
Yes. Have a real face-to-face spooky sleepover.
All right, so let's
The
go
pillow
ahead
fight
and
just for us, though.
let's go ahead and get this wrapped up so I can let you get some rest and I can get some rest. My voice is recovering.
I was about to say, you've been a trooper with the talking today with your voice.
Well, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and I just vibe with you. So even if it's just you and I in these situations,
Yes.
I just like last time we spoke forever because we hadn't seen each other for so long and spoken to each other for so long because of everything that like we rambled forever. But it's because I just
love
have that kind
yeah.
of vibe with you. So I like this kind of setting of having our slumber party and talking about creepy shit that we can't find a place in the podcast. So here's the strange
it.
part of it all.
That's right. You're damn right.
Are you ready to wrap it up, babe?
I'm so ready, my dear.
All right. Are you ready?
Thank you guys for being here.
We appreciate you
listening to our spooky little
guys.
sleepovers.
And thank you for all of those follows on Spotify. Our goal was to
Yes.
get to 100 before the end of 2025. So hopefully we get there. But right now, last I checked, I believe we're at 47 now, by the way.
Oh, that's fabulous, though. We're
Yeah.
making good growth. You know what? So help us get there, guys. Share us with your friends that appreciate weird, strange, or spooky.
Yes. All right. Are we ready, baby?
Yep, let's do it, babe.
All right. We'll stay thick.
And you stay spooky.